Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some more Magnet Warrior. This time I'm trying out the build with Block Dragon and Adamantipator Researcher. I've seen the build going around where it's 40 cards with just those two, not a full 60 card build with a bunch of Adamantipator stuff. So where I actually saw that was on Moha's channel. Moha, Master Duel YouTuber, who needs no introduction, I'm sure, but I'm going to go ahead and link Moha's Magnet Warrior combo guide down below, as that was the inspiration for this build. And I'm going to be executing in this first game pretty much the same combo line here. So we're up against Canine Vanquish Soul. They are going to fire off an Izuna, but we thankfully have the Call By. Even if we didn't have Call By against Lupus, we would still actually be able to use Ash Blossom against Izuna's effect as well. But I wanted to save Ash Blossom in case they threw out like a surprise Mulch Army or something. Well, they wouldn't at this point, but maybe they have like a Max C for my turn or my next turn. I don't know. Anyway. Here we're going to go into the Asa. That way we can get enough materials in the graveyard for Block Dragon. Then we're going to turn those two into Cross Sheep. And then with Block Dragon, we're actually going to end up adding the Adamantipator Researcher as well as not one, but two copies of Beta, the Electromagnetic Warrior. Again, definitely check out Moha's combo guide for a more in-depth breakdown on this combo line in particular. Okay, now we can fuse the Sigma Minus with the Electromagnetic Beta on field. It is actually important that you fuse with the one on field and not in hand, because we're about to use our extra normal summon with Plasma Magnum to summon the one in hand. The reason also that you don't want to use the Cross Sheep effect until you're summoning Naturia Beast here in a moment is for the fact that the Cross Sheep will actually buff your Naturia Beast, and then it won't be as easy to run over, right? Like instead of only having 2,200 attack points, now it'll have 2,900, which again, can make a lot of difference. Now here our Adamantipator Researcher whiffed, and we were not able to excavate a monster off the top of the deck. That's fine, it just means we won't get quite as many bodies on the end board. We won't have the ability to make IP Masquerena in particular, but we're still going to set up all the important stuff. The Naturia Beast, the Baron de Fleur, we can even pop their Izuna, and then we're going to revive the Telucion, and then the Block Dragon. I could have made the IP here, I guess, to be fair, and then just chose to not end on Telucion, but I like the ability to use Magnapon and to go for the Flux Ashenfeld potentially during their turn. Alright, guess our opponent didn't even want to try to play into this board, not that I really blame them, and we're just going to turn everything to attack mode and then swing in for lethal. And there you have it. That's a pretty simple example turn 1 combo line. We even, like I said before, did not hit on the Adamantipator Researcher excavate there. But as you saw, not only did we still end on a full board of 6 monsters, we even still could have made IP, and all we would have had to really give up was a Telucian there. I've also kind of thought about adding some rank 8s, like number 90, because we could have made one there as well. I've had a couple of game states where the ability to make a rank 8 came up, but even then, you know, you're still giving up the Telucian Destroy for a monster negate. I personally think a monster negate tends to be a little bit better than a Destroy, but it's pretty situationally dependent. Anyway, let's go and take a look at our next duel. Alright, for a going second game, we're up against Ryzeal Mitsurugi. Now, this game was played before the new ban list took effect, so they're still going to have 3 prayers in their deck. But our hand is looking pretty solid here. We got the Purlia and the Fulos. I wasn't paying attention and just toggling while I was reading something else on my other screen, which is why I didn't Purlia during the draw phase specifically, but here it looks like they would have had an Ash Blossom for it anyway, so things aren't really going to play out any differently than they would have if I just Purlia draw phase and they chained Ash Blossom. Okay, so they're going to Prayers for the Habakiri. I'm going to activate Habakiri. I'm going to chain Fulos so that, not the Ash Blossom. You want to Ash Blossom Saji. Honestly, against Mitsurugi in general, Saji is the best Ash Blossom target. But here, obviously, I'd rather let them do the Fulos first, or I would rather do the Fulos first, let them summon, get the draw, then Ash Blossom the Saji search. We even find Maxi if they choose to summon anymore, but they're just going to pass after that. We have more than enough plays in hand to get going here. We're going to start by dumping 2 for the plus minus. Now Sigma plus in the graveyard can revive the Epsilon. Epsilon's going to dump Omega plus and then revive the Sigma plus. Now we're going to overlay the 2 of them for the Gallant Granite. And even if they do end up negating this Gallant Granite, I'm really not that disappointed because we have the Adamancipator Researcher in hand, but it's going to resolve when we get the Block Dragon. So to make sure we have enough Earth monsters in the graveyard, we're going to link these two into Asa, the Earth Charmer Immovable. Now we can summon Block Dragon by banishing 3 from the yard. And then we're going to link into Cross Sheep. I'm basically just doing turn 1 plays at this point and waiting to see if my opponent's got any interaction here. If I remember right, they did actually start getting past priority, or I might be thinking of a different duel. No, it was this game. So yeah, yes. My opponent started getting past priority just before I summoned the Block Dragon, so I kind of figured they had a Nibiru, but I also knew that if they nibbed, you know, at the wrong moment, which is very easy to do when you have Block Dragon up, I'd still be able to play through anyway. And sure enough, we were able to set ourselves up in a scenario where, because we already had the Adamancipator Researcher in hand, we can just use Block Dragon to add Quackimiru Supplier and Guardian. This is the big difference in my build in Mohawks. I really love having a full playset of Quackimiru Guardian, especially if you're going to be on Adamancipator Researcher. You definitely want to be excavating these things as much as possible, and just being able to normal summon it after searching here, obviously also fantastic. So they're going to try to Nibiru, we're going to chain the Quackimiru Guardian, and going to stop it like so. Negate and destroy. We can even activate the Supplier effect and add another Guardian from deck to hand. We're going to activate Researcher here, and Researcher even finds the 3rd copy of Guardian, further insulating my plays from any more hand traps my opponent might have. We can use Sigma Minus to fuse with the Quackimiru Guardian we just added off of Supplier. Going to go for Plasma Magnum. Plasma Magnum gets to add the Magnet Bonding here. We're going to activate Magnet Bonding, and my plan was to add... what would it have been, actually? Because we already did the plus minus. Epsilon, Omega Plus is in the graveyard, I think, already. So there really wasn't much of a point to adding there, but at the same time, we already had a lot of ways to find lethal on board, so that would have definitely been not too much of an issue either way. But alright, let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel. This is just going to be a brief one-turn replay against Sulfacord Yummy. Basically just, they're going to concede during our first turn, but it still shows us pushing through some hand traps here. Alright, taking the first turn. So we're going to start off with the Deuteron for Magnet Bonding, and then our opponent's going to fire off Joel and Lockbird. Now here we have the Crossout Designator for it, so we're fine. It's worth noting that even if you didn't have Crossout Designator here, in a hand like this, you could still chain Magnet Bonding to add the plus minus, right? Plus minus could dump Sigma Plus and the... I'm blanking on the one, Epsilon, that revives. Yeah. Then Epsilon revives Sigma Plus. And this hand in particular also just has Sigma Minus and Adamancipator Researcher in it anyway. So I think even if I didn't open Crossout Designator, I still could have put out a board of multiple negates or disruptions, even through a Joel and Lockbird. But again, here we have the Crossout Designator, so it's going to be fine. We're going to go for the Magnet Bonding, and our opponent's actually going to chain Dominus Purge, which unfortunately, and obviously, I cannot actually use Called By on, so that's definitely a bit of a bummer here. We're going to normal summon Sigma Minus instead, activate effect on summon to dump Telusion. Then we can special summon Researcher. Researcher's going to reveal the top 5, and we managed to find Electromagnet Beta in those 5. We're going to use that to add the other Sigma Minus from our deck to our hand, and then activate to fuse with the Sigma Minus that's already on the board, and then we can summon out our Plasma Magnum. And since we did negate the Joel and Lockbird, we can use Plasma Magnum to add the Magnet Induction here. We're then going to activate in order to special summon Epsilon from our deck. Epsilon's going to dump Omega Plus and then revive Sigma Minus. We can then overlay our 2 Magnet Warriors in order to go for the Gallant Granite. Now Gallant Granite gets to activate, detaching in order to add Block Dragon. And this is another scenario where once we summon Block Dragon, we can actually add our Quackimiru cards. But we're going to make Cross Sheep first just to make a little room on our board and get some more Earth monsters in the graveyard to banish for Block Dragon. We can revive Researcher with the Cross Sheep here in order to make the Baron de Fleur. And then we can still go into... My plan here was to go Plasma Magnum plus Cross Sheep into Sprite Elf, and then Elf can revive Researcher yet again, and then we can go Researcher plus Electromagnet Beta into Naturia Beast. So our end board wouldn't have been a full end board. It would have been it would have been Sprite Elf, Naturia Beast, Baron, and then set call by. Going into our opponent's 4-card hand made me very confident that we were going to win that duel there, but multiple ways we could have played through those hand traps. Just wanted to highlight that, even though it was a brief one-turn game. Got one last duel to show you before we finish off here. And for our final game, we're going to be up against Hero. I have run into Hero quite a few times, actually, since the release of the latest pack, which isn't that much of a surprise, but I will say none of the builds I played against were on Miracle Ejector. For as much flack I got in the comments for saying Miracle Ejector is probably something you can do without, which again, as I said in the comment section, is because it didn't have any competitive results at all. Which really, I understand that that's a large part of Hero not having representation, but at the end of the day, look, I can't recommend somebody craft a UR card that has never seen competitive play, right? That's just that's just my stance there. If I end up being wrong and Miracle Ejector is good, people can always craft it later. But if I always recommended cards I thought should see play because someone in the comments told me to, do you know how many UR craft points people would have wasted up till now? Holy. So I just wanted to throw that out there too to kind of reiterate that a little bit. But this hand is going to be a lot of similar turn 1 comboing. However, yet again, we can use Block Dragon to add some level 4s because we actually already opened double Electromagnet Beta and Adamantipator Researcher, which is what you would have searched off of the Block Dragon anyway. Here, because we also have an extra Sigma Plus in hand, we can fuse that with the Sigma Minus in order to go for the Plasma Magnum here. Gonna go for the Adamantipator Researcher, which is going to find the Quackimiru Guardian again, which we love to see. Now we can synchro for 5 into Naturia Beast, and this is really nice because now not only does the Naturia Beast get buffed by the Cross Sheep, but the Quackimiru Guardian does as well. Meaning that these monsters not only represent some pretty powerful negate effects, but also now they have a really solid amount of attack points to back them up. Now here's a little bit of a first world problem for me, because I summoned that supplier. I'm actually kind of running low on board space. I'm going to make Sprite Elf, then revive Block Dragon, synchro summon the Baron de Fleur. However, because I did it in this order, I'm not really able, and also the positioning with my Elf, I'm not really able to summon IP Masquerena, but that's fine. We can just have Elf point to Baron and Nat Beast, and we have the Quackimiru Guardian, and we're good to go. Oh, our poor opponent here. They're going to activate so many spell cards, and the Naturia Beast is going to negate every single one of them. Because, of course, Naturia Beast is not once per turn. You simply mill the top 2 cards of your deck, and you just negate every spell card that your opponent plays. Don't really know what to say. You know, even despite being an older card, Naturia Beast back when it first came out was still obviously very good. I think the main difference between older Yu-Gi-Oh! When Naturia Beast first came out and now is that nowadays you have these very long combo lines that are reliant on either starting or at some point using a spell card. Negating a spell card when Naturia Beast first came out often just stopped, like, you know, maybe a couple of summons at most, or, you know, maybe destroying or getting rid of a couple of cards on board, again, at most, but now it's stopping anything that the opponent can do at all, as we saw here. I even allowed the Adusted Gold to resolve because I knew it was just going to add a spell card anyway. No sense in using a monster negate on something that is just going to search a spell when you have Naturia Beast up. But alright, there's our games. Let me show you the deck list here, and then we will finish off. Okay, so here is Magnet Warrior, this time featuring the Block Dragon and a single copy of Adamantipator Researcher. So, how much does this improve the deck from the pure / Fiendsmith build? I think the end board is improved by a fair amount, and I will say, one of my main concerns was how well this is going to be able to play through hand traps as opposed to a more low-to-the-ground build like the Pure or Fiendsmith iterations I've shown recently, and I was pretty impressed how well this had the potential to play through hand traps again, despite being a little bit more wombo combo-y. So I think I'm still going to try to bounce back and forth between this and Fiendsmith before I really determine which I think is actually better right now. But I do think they're about equal, and if not that, I think this one might slightly have the edge a little bit. So, like I said, my list is the combo lines that I did were definitely a direct result of me watching Moha's Magnet Warrior combo guide video, which again, I'm going to link down below. As always, check out Moha, the GOAT. Always got to shout them out. Excellent, excellent Master Duel YouTuber. But a couple of key differences that I did in my build was rocking a playset of Quacky Mirror Guardian. Again, especially for excavating off of the Researcher, I think it's so important to have a playset of these. Plus, this card is so good. You can also, with this build, by the way, you can still do the combo lines that I showed in my combo guide, and in that regard, there are some hands where that's not a bad idea, right? Like if you open Quacky Mirror Guardian plus, you know, like a plus minus, you could go normal summon Quacky Mirror Guardian and then plus minus into a pure Magnet Warrior combo line. You wouldn't be able to do the Block Dragon plays that I showed you, again, that are Moha's combo lines, necessarily, because at that point, you would have used your normal summon for the Guardian, and you wouldn't have a normal summon for the Electromagnet Beta. So it's kind of hand dependent, right? Which combo line you actually go for, and I like the flexibility in that regard. Another one of the differences here in the X deck in particular, just a couple of minor differences, the main one being that I put in Naturia Barkion because it's easy enough to summon, right? Researcher plus any one of our many level 4, here, this one's actually level 4, Earth non-tuners, and you never know, you could run up against Odeon or Labyrinth or just some back row deck that really makes you want to have access to the Barkion. This is not required at all, though. It's highly optional. I did not craft Barkion for this deck. I already owned it because of playing Naturia in the past, and if I didn't own it, I would not have crafted it. But since, again, I incidentally already owned it, I decided to go ahead and go for it anyway. Pretty sure Moha was on Flux Oschenfeld, but I always kind of want to point out that this card is also highly optional. Don't feel like you have to craft it. I'll be honest, I've not summoned this in any of the Magnet Warrior decks I've played so far. It just does not come up that often, but it is a decent optional end board piece to have for a bounce during the opponent's turn. I'm thinking about kind of reworking some of the combo lines here and adjusting the build a little bit. Particularly the part where you go into Asa. I feel like there might be a way you can just go into Cross Sheep, but I'd have to lab it out. I haven't really labbed it out myself yet, but either way, definitely want to keep playing Magnet Warrior. I love this deck. I think it's a ton of fun, and I think it's kind of underrated. I think it's a lot closer to being tiered than people think. I think at the end of the day, it is probably still going to be a rogue deck, but I really think that if someone put this deck in tier 3 on their tier list, I don't think they would be wrong to do so. I wouldn't disagree with them, but I think a lot of what's kind of keeping me from declaring that this is a tier 3 deck is just the fact that there's so many different ways to play it that it's kind of hard to determine what the best one is, and there's going to need to be done a lot of playtesting with a lot of different builds, but we're going to keep doing that moving on to the future. Anyway, thank you as always for watching, especially all the way to the end. Super appreciate that. We're going to move on to our outro now so we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.